Fiction podcast, where we chat about all things Christian fiction. I'm your host, author, and insatiable reader, Shatona Havoc. And guys, we have back with us. We finally get to talk to her again. We didn't get to talk to her about book 2, so we're going to do that today because that's just how annoying I am, and it's great. So, welcome back, Megan Schaulis. Did I say that right?
You sure did.
Anyway. I thought so. I thought it was like not quite my daughter's name, but close, if I recalled. And so,
yes.
Anyway, but welcome back. And I'm excited because this is book 3 of the Susa Chronicles.
It sure is. Sure is.
And it comes out April 7th, which is past, it's already happened. So guys, You don't have to wait for it.
Nope.
It just hasn't happened for us here.
We're the other side of time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the cool thing about podcasts. You get to like float through willy-nilly, timey-wimey.
Mm-hmm.
David Tennant would totally approve.
Exactly. Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. You bet.
Yeah, I love it so much. So for those who missed, guys, I did put the first episode that we talked about it in the show notes. So it's there if you want to listen to that. But just for those who missed that, don't know about the series and everything, what is the Susa Chronicles?
Absolutely. So the Susa Chronicles is a dystopian series that takes familiar Bible stories and sets them in a futuristic kind of version of Persia, where we have clashes of royalty and nanotechnology, all wrapped up into deep, faith-filled, heartfelt journeys to make a difference. The first 2 books are a set, Protector and then Proclaimer, and those 2 books together retell the story of Esther, with, just, some biologically upgraded humans dancing around and being a part of the story, as you do.
No, because reasons.
And because, when I read the Word of God, I think things like, wow, this story is so compelling and powerful and perfect. Why don't I just go and completely turn it on its head and throw it into all of this? And God says, that sounds like fun. Let's go do it together. And then book 3 is really fun. It's a spin-off sequel. You can read it by itself. It will absolutely make sense. I worked so hard to make sure this book makes sense to brand new readers. And it takes a beloved character from the first 2 books, and he gets to go have his own adventure, which is inspired by Nehemiah. And I thought, what could be more fun than a retelling of Nehemiah on a tropical island, also with a fun dose of nanotechnology. So that's the Susa Chronicles in a nutshell. Like I said, light dystopian. This is not heavy sci-fi. We're not in outer space. We're not time traveling. Just hints of kind of, a slightly broken world, some fun futuristic tech that kind of pushes the boundaries of reality, and ultimately just some people trying to be bold in their faith in some really pretty awful circumstances.
I love it. And I love the fact that, am I right? The Nehemiah, it's a girl.
Yes and no. So the main Nehemiah character is a guy, but he already had a name because he already existed. Really funny story about his name too. He already existed in my Esther story, and his name is Hatch. And in the Esther duology, his name was inspired by the true biblical figure named Hatak, or something pronounced like that in Hebrew, who is a character, a real life person from the story of Esther. He was the messenger who went back and forth between Esther and Mordecai. And he's actually the one who said the very quoted, you've been placed in the palace for such a time as this verse. And so I named Hatch after that true figure from the Bible before I ever had the thought, well, what if someday Hatch had a Nehemiah story? So he really is my Nehemiah character. But then I was like, well, we have to nod to Nehemiah. So we brought in Myah, of course. So the 2 of them together have a Nehemiah-like mission where, if for those who are unfamiliar, who are flipping through their Sunday school memory right now, in Nehemiah, the true biblical figure of Nehemiah, was a man. First of all, he was male. And shortly after Esther lived, maybe even they might have crossed years a little bit, Nehemiah went back to Jerusalem, and at the end of the time where the Israelites were in captivity in Babylon, he went back to Jerusalem, and he had it on his heart from the Lord to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. This beautiful city that God had chosen was just in shambles after everything that they had gone through, and it hadn't been rebuilt in hundreds of years. or dozens of years at least. And he had on his heart to rebuild these walls to defend the city. And he was able to rebuild those walls and defenses in a miraculous 52 days. And so, inspired by that, my Nehemiah team of Hatch and Myah, they are on an island that is sinking due to an enemy attack. It's literally sinking into the ocean little by little. And the only way they can stabilize the island and prevent future attacks is through a nanotechnology wonder called the fence. And they have 52 days until utter destruction is headed their way. And they have that deadline in front of them that if they don't get this island stabilized, if they can't install the fence by that time, then it's going to just be ruin and disaster.
I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that Myah is the thing. See, I have a character, by the way, who actually lives on tropical islands in the South Pacific. I'm just saying.
Awesome.
Her name is Ezra Nehemiah.
That's
because
awesome.
her dad thought that they said he had a boy. And so that was the name they had chosen. Otherwise she was going to be Esther Ruth. Right. And so they were all set for this. And he was like devastated at the loss of his wife and childbirth. So he just signed out the birth certificate. And then he gets home and discovers that his son isn't.
Oh, that's so
but
great.
I just love the fact that you have a Myah. I have one of her friends calls her Izzy Myah. And then I also love the fact that it's a tropical. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys.
No, it's great. And I do have a fun nod to Ezra. There's a little old lady. There's a group of little old ladies in this book who are, encouraging, but also meddlesome. And they become part of Hatch's life on a daily basis. And one of them is named Esri, and she's counting everything. She wants everything precise and well counted and well inventoried. And if you've read the book of Ezra, it's about 80% numbers. So
right,
our little Ezra touch in there too.
I love it so much. That just makes me so very happy. Oh boy. Okay, so all right, let's go back to the first couple of books. So we have a sort of Esther retelling.
Yes.
And yet not, but yes, but not,
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite. I love biblical quote inspired / retellings that are so divorced from biblical times that there's no way that your mind goes, okay, wait a minute, was this the Bible or the book?
Yeah,
And you can't, when you're talking dystopian, it's not going to happen.
No, not at all. Not at all. If you're wondering, now, did it really happen that way? When she went to the palace, was she really competing against young women who had been juiced up with nanotechnology in her veins? The answer is no. That's not what really happened in the account of Esther. Go read it. It's a short book in the Old Testament. You can read the whole thing in a day. But no, I don't think I'm going to run into the confusion that, Angela Hunt or Rosanna M. White might, where someone's trying to keep it straight in their head from the biblical fiction to the real account. No, this one shouldn't be too confusing. And yet my books are really deeply laced with, if you like maybe Easter eggs is the term people use. There's lots and lots of references, both in the themes and even literal words from Esther and Nehemiah in the books. But I don't think anyone's going to be too confused. Basic plot lines.
Yeah, I just can't see it. And don't get me wrong. The argument could be made that is the best reason to read lots of biblical fiction, because then you have to spend lots of time in the Bible comparing to make sure that you have your story straight. And what is better than a book that sends you to the Bible? You can make that argument.
You sure can.
Say it.
You
but
sure can.
I also just don't like that moment where all of a sudden my brain goes, okay, that was in the book, this was in the, okay, got it, because it happens now and then it really annoys me, and I don't like to be annoyed when I'm reading, because I like to love reading, but I love the fact that you said that there are actual parts of scripture in the book. I just finished Luminary by Shauna Schrader.
Yes, me too. I just read it in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I finished it like 2 nights ago.
It's so good.
And it was so good. And I was just preparing, because I know I read it before, and I plowed through it with 5 or 6 other fantasy novels. I was doing this major fantasy binge, and I couldn't remember anything about it other than what I knew, synopsis wise. And I was like, there's just something. And so I decided before Perplexity comes out, I'm going to read this, right? Mm-hmm. But she did the same thing. Their words from, quote, Sustainer.
Yes.
You would see, and sometimes she would rearrange them just a little bit, and other other times it'd be like just exactly
Straight.
what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it because my brain is going, oh, I know that scripture. Oh, I know that scripture. It's
Yes.
so cool.
Yes, I loved it. I loved it so much. I even wrote to Shauna. We just recently have kind of connected and wrote to her and was like, I love how much I could see her personal relationship with the Word of God on the page.
Yes.
There was so much in there. And guys, it's beautifully written. Like if someone sadly didn't know the Word of God, you wouldn't know that that's what you were being receiving because it's so natural to the story. But it's so laced with it that you can just see that her heart, that this is a girl who loves the Word. And I love seeing that in anyone. So
right.
Yes.
It was,
she received some
it was
emails.
just so good. I'm just like so excited. But so when you were talking about how you have that in your books, I'm like, oh, it's going to be like that. Yay! Mm-hmm. So cool. So cool. So, okay. Book one, yes. I remember that she got taken to the school, whatever the place. And these, you got these enhanced people, but she's not enhanced. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. She gets taken to the Citadel or kind of the capital, where the seat of government / palace in Susa, thus the Susa Chronicles. And she's kidnapped and forced into a competition where the women are competing to become the king's next bodyguard. For reasons and tragic circumstances, there are no more bodyguards left for the king. Problem. And he finds himself in need of protection, of course. And in this world, there are a group of young women who have been biologically upgraded through nanotech. And so they can, run faster, jump higher. They're kind of like super Olympian athletes. And even beyond that, they're breaking the laws of physics. And Novalis, who's my Esther-like character, gets kidnapped and thrown into this competition against her will. And while she is very tall and athletic, she is just a normal girl. And she has to hide who she is. She has to hide her identity. She has to hide her faith and try to survive in a very physical ninja warrior-like competition against these other young women. And then if she can survive, maybe even try to win and see if she can get a coveted place on the king's bodyguard team because of all of the reasons why that would be good for her and her persecuted people.
Oh, yes. Also, just a total aside, because Shatona and her scatterbrain, do I recall correctly that the person on the cover is a friend of yours that looks just like what you imagined her as, and so Rosanna created the cover with her?
Yes, absolutely. We talked about that last time. The girl on the cover, her name is Courtney Cheatham. We have been very good friends for way too many years, and she's on the cover of both Protector and Proclaimer. And yes, she was on my Pinterest board of inspiration long before I even had a book deal. And then she is an actual professional model and actress. And then we coordinated and she volunteered kind of jokingly, like, haha, if you ever need a cover model. And I said, are you serious? Because let's make it happen. And Rosanna White, who is my publisher and also cover designer, made it happen.
I love that story so much. Yep. And I was going to ask if the second one was the same because, it's a different angle. It's a different expression, slightly different coloring. And so I'm looking and I'm like, I think it's the same person, but it's just different enough that I could be wrong. So I was really glad when you said it was still her.
No, actually the second one is, yes. So both Protector and Proclaimer have Courtney on the cover. Yeah. It's still her.
Right.
But Rebuilder, I did not happen to have any childhood friends who looked exactly like these characters. So Rebuilder and are not buddies of mine, right. But Protector and Proclaimer are both Courtney and Cheatham.
I love it so much. Okay, so book 2.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about book 2 that isn't a major spoiler? But on the other hand, if you look at the synopsis, we kind of get one anyway. So
yeah. I've learned how to write those better these days and save the spoilers. But so book 1 covers the parts of the story of Esther through the competition. In the biblical account, she literally competes, not physically, but she competes in kind of a beauty pageant to become the king's bride and queen. And that's just straight out of the book of Esther. So book 1 of my duology covers the competition phase, so to speak. Like I said, in my case, competition to become the king's bodyguard or part of that bodyguard team. And so the competition is complete within book 1. It ends. You find out the results.
And the Bible is a spoiler. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I'm not saying how it turns out, but the competition is in book 1. And the competition ends, but then everything kind of blows up on the last page. Yep, I'm that kind of author. But it's okay because both books are out now. You don't have to wait like the poor people who waited a year after that last chapter. And I say this is not a marketing ploy. I'm just telling you guys, buy both books because otherwise you're going to be really mad.
Yes.
So book one ends and we basically turn the page and book two starts. It starts 3 seconds after book one ends, just right into the next scene. And book two covers Novalis. Her name gets changed to Astra. That's not a spoiler. Just like the real Esther, her name was Hadassah. Right. It was changed to Esther. So Novalis / Astra now has to live with the results of that competition. And the problems for her faith community, for the people of faith who have been persecuted, have escalated greatly. They're now even more of a target than they've ever been before. So now Astra Novalis is not just trying to figure out how does she personally survive. She's trying to figure out how do I keep everyone I've ever loved from dying, from being wiped out. And she's doing all of this while still having to hide her own identity. So the second half of the book of Esther, we have at that point Xerxes and Esther are married, and you have Haman, the true to life villain, who is planning to completely exterminate and eradicate the people of God. And he has this awful, wicked plan to do it. And Esther is in a very unique position to stop that, but only if she basically breaks the law and steps out in boldness. And so Astra Novalis goes through some similar challenges where things are worse than ever for her people. The clock is ticking, and she is having to decide where her loyalties lie. She's having to decide, is she going to become kind of the wicked, awful person that these people of faith are accused of being? And like, who is she willing to become to save everything she loves? Is there a way to save these people and to protect the people she cares about without kind of becoming a monster in the process? And she really is put in situations where there's no good choice unless you believe in a God who makes a way. And really playing with the question of when you're shoved between a rock and the hard place, when every option in front of you is a terrible option, the lesser of evils kind of thing, could there be a different way out? Could God have something else in store that you can only see when you say, okay, God, I have no options here, but I refuse to choose something wicked because you are good. I refuse to fall into this ditch or that ditch. I'm going to believe that you have a way that I can't see yet. And that's kind of her dilemma as the battles escalate into book two.
So excited. But then we get book three, which is connected but not continued. Am I correct?
Yeah. Book two, I promise it has a proper ending. As much as book one has a cliffhanger, book two has a good and proper conclusion. You will be satisfied, I promise. But this character, Hatch, he's in Protector and in Proclaimer, and he goes through stuff. We'll just leave it at that. He goes through some stuff. Hatch does not have an easy journey, but he's a side character. He's not a main character. And I just was like, I can't leave it here for this guy. Like, this can't be it for him. You know, he needs, we need to find out what's next for this guy after everything he's been through. What is next for him? What does God have in store for him? What is he going to be struggling with? What is he going to believe about himself after everything he's been through? What lies have soaked in that need to be dealt with and healed? He's left with some physical injuries after everything that goes down. But I also felt like he needed a break. Like, if Hatch was my friend in real life, I'd be like, you need a vacation, or like, you know, maybe you need to move. Maybe it's time to relocate.
Can I bring you soup?
Yeah, can I bring you soup? Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes, poor Hatch. How can I help? And Hatch needs to get out. So from the very beginning of book three, Hatch gets out. He's offered a job to become the governor of this island that people kind of never really believed existed. It was kind of a bedtime story, this island that was populated by Alphanites, these people of faith. And he's offered the governorship of this island and is kind of like, this is my ticket out of town. I can't stand around and watch everyone else's happy ending. I need a fresh start. And he packs up his bags and moves from the dry desert to the hot, humid island in the middle of the ocean. And from the moment he steps on the sand with his crutches, he's like, this might not have been the second chance I hoped for. And he's there technically as a representative of the government, and immediately meets this island girl that everyone has nicknamed Princess. She's kind of, the favorite daughter of the island. Her dad was the former governor, and Hatch is basically here to replace her dad. And she has a whole bunch of baggage about that and about the governor and about everything that the government and everything that Hatch now represents. And so there's some clashing there right off the start. It's a fish out of water, no pun intended here, but it's also very much about second chances, perhaps second love, what you do when everything you had planned out and believed in has crumbled, and just kind of where you pick up and go from there.
Oh, I like it. Oh, okay. So many things. I mean, okay, I'm just picturing. So I leave the desert. I live by Death Valley. Okay.
Yes.
So I leave the desert and I go to. I'm thinking like Louisiana.
There you go. Yes.
I'm trying to think of the places that I've actually been that are that's as tropical as I've gotten. Right, the very bottom. You spit out of my sister's yard and it's in the Gulf. I mean, it's just like crazy.
There you go.
And so but you know what? I feel so bad for this guy because it is night and day. My kids were just like falling apart. They did not know how to function because you can't breathe, it's just like, well, my lungs work totally differently from most people like me. They come alive in humid stuff. So I'm just going, hi, I wish you had my form of asthma because you would have been so happy once you got there. But this place also makes me think about Holland. You know how they had to like move the dirt from inland to the edges because they were losing their shore, and it was just going, and Holland built itself into more.
Yes. Yeah. Boston did the same thing a few hundred years ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They piled up, from the stories I've heard when I lived there, they piled up kind of trash and, throw away stuff and pack some sand on it to give themselves some more land. England has a couple of islands that truly have sunk. That part that does actually happen. They don't totally know why, but just some small islands that are now just really shallow little islands that they have historical records that say these used to be much taller. They used to be bigger, and we don't know why, but they kind of sunk. So exactly, it is kind of exactly like that. That's a great comparison.
I love that. It just, I don't know. There's this, okay, don't get me wrong. I loved the idea of the series from the beginning. But there is something about this one that just has me. I'm just going, oh my gravy, do I want this book yesterday? And guys, you can go get it right now. Me, I still have to wait 7 days. It's just like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Anyway, okay. So like when you were planning these books out, all the research, all the stuff that has to happen, what was the most fun part of that? Because I mean, my brain is doing all kinds of fun stuff here.
Yes. Okay. So in the story, Myah, the one they all call Princess, is a glass blower. That is her job. She works with blown glass. This is a tradition that's been in her family for generations. And she does it both for art and aesthetics, but she also does it for industry for their island. She mixes the glass with a certain type of nanotechnology so that a common everyday water bottle or glass vessel becomes a water purification device. So in my fantasy mind here, she can take a water glass and scoop up some salt water out of the ocean, and then the desalinizing nanotech clears out the salt and debris, and she can just take a sip. Because wouldn't that just be so convenient, right?
That would be so awesome.
Especially if you lived on an island in the middle of nowhere. You just take your glass and scoop. And she makes all of these through these beautiful handmade blown glass pieces. And so glass blowing was part of the research and just the discovery of this book. And okay, there's a really funny story about this. Can I tell a funny story?
Yes. Tell the story. I want the story.
You're familiar with Becky Wade, of course.
Yes.
Okay. This is all Becky Wade's fault. All Becky Wade's fault.
I love it.
Which is hilarious because Becky Wade does not know me. I mean, she might.
But it's still her fault.
But it's still her fault. I mean, she might recognize my name. We've exchanged a note or two online. She sent me a pancake recipe once. She's super kind. But we're not like besties. However, I was dreaming about this book in kind of the pre-writing stages, the what if and all that fun. And I don't know if I had just read Rocky Road or something like, I think I had just read Rocky Road, which was one of her recent releases. And I was like, Becky Wade in her books, the characters often have the coolest jobs. Like with no, it's totally fine if we have books about people who are baristas and bookshop owners and teachers. Those are great. By all means, real life. But Becky Wade always has the most interesting jobs. Like she'll have her main character in one book ran an animal shelter. And it just fit so
Great.
well. And it was just really fun. Yeah, that was in the last Mystic River book. And in Rocky Road, the girl was I don't know what you call this job, but like she was like a perfumist. Like she would create perfumes. And that's what her family had done for generations. And I was like, this is so cool. And I was actually really mad because I was like, you contemporary authors get to do all this stuff. We over here in fantasy sci-fi land, I was like, I can't this is what I was venting to myself. It wasn't true at all. But I was like, I can't do anything like that. I don't get to give people fun jobs. And I literally in my head said the sentence, it's not like I can make one of my characters a glass blower. And then I was like, oh, hold on just a second. Well, let's just think about this. And then I was like, well, glass at its heart is sand. That's when I wanted the glass has been around forever because it's made of silica and heat. It's made of sand. And I was like, well, if you were on an island, maybe there could actually have been generations and generations of glass makers, in fact. And what if I already had established, through my first two books, nanotechnology is very much present. And I was like, well, what if there was kind of a mix of nanotechnology and glass? And then this one line, so glass blowing, if people are not familiar, is literally blown. Like there is a tube, a metal tube called a blowing iron that they blow air through the tube and that inflates the molten glass. Your air pushes the glass into certain shapes. It really is blowing and glass making.
And it's so cool to watch.
It's so fascinating. And in certain situations, the glass artist actually has a partner who is providing air while the artist is shaping at the other end of the rod. And I was picturing all of this craziness while I'm, shaking my fist at how incredibly talented Becky Wade is. And this one sentence popped into my head, and it was, be my breath. Be my breath. And I instantly had one of those moments that are few and far between, but so great as an author, where just whole chunks of the story downloaded into my brain. It's just this idea of be my breath. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's it. I'm going to write, because why not? If we're already doing a dystopian, lightly science fiction beach read, why not also have a glass blower in my dystopian, beachy, techie romance? So there you go. That was by far the coolest thing to research and learn about. And I now, oh my gosh, I want to go write 100 different glass blowing characters because it's just the coolest artistry ever.
Yes, so cool.
So even beyond the technology, that was the coolest thing.
Oh man, every time I go into West Virginia, I stop at the Tamarack and I just watch the glass blowers for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, we while I was working on this book, our local fair, it's bigger than a county fair, but smaller than a state fair where I am here in Texas. But our regional fair, they had a glass blowing team who came and did demonstrations, and it happened to be while I was working on this book. So we went to the fair as a family, and I was basically like, have fun watching, go see all the stock animals, husband and children. I'm going to be in here for the next hour. And I did. I just sat there and took videos and talked to the guys who were working that day, and it was just amazing.
I can just imagine. I mean, those are the kinds of things you're sitting there and you're just going, okay, so what goes wrong? How does it go wrong? And you start firing all these questions and you can't write the answers down fast enough because you're still asking more questions and you totally confuse. Or maybe that's just me.
Oh, no, it was amazing. And I was watching them, and because like I said, I had seen the partner type glass blowing. And so I was like, how do they do it by themselves? And so I watched them do that. And I was so blown away because these guys were wearing flip-flops. And I'm like, yeah, I'm expecting them to be like bodysuits with like a welding mask because there's a furnace. Like I was 15, 20 feet from the furnace and I can feel it. There's a furnace over there and they're in flip-flops. Like, I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, isn't this perhaps like a hazard? But no, they were great.
Little bitty hazard, just.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
now you've got me thinking, and I can't stop thinking. What are we gonna get like Shadrach, Meshach, and
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, with the furnace. Man,
yeah,
well, goodness. I love, we love all of the Word of God, of course, but man, I love Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I was a speaker for a youth camp last summer, and I spoke 3 different nights, and I taught a whole giant thing on those 3 guys and how amazing they are, in their boldness and their faith. And I have not yet had a story idea for the 3 of them just land in my head like I have for a couple other Old Testament inspired pieces, but oh man, I'll be thinking about it now.
right? I mean, can you
Hmm.
imagine them going to this island to learn this?
Oh golly. Oh, that would just be way too much fun. Hmm.
Oh, anyway,
Hmm.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there. So, what
Megan
was the
starts scratching
hardest? The
notes on a
absolute
post-it.
worst? All the things doing this. What you're just like, I don't want to do this, but I got to tell the story. What was that moment?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So because God is so good, God years ago literally precisely promised me a book and a baby. And I delivered my son, he's not my first child, but I delivered my son on March 1st of 2024. And my first book, Protector, came out on April 9th of 2024. 6 weeks apart, I got my book and my baby, which is amazing.
It's kind of funny. It's like that thing where you have a baby and you go back to work at 6 weeks.
Actually, the first time we talked, I'm pretty sure before we started recording, I was like, hey, by the way, I have a 3-week-old baby sitting on my lap.
Yep.
So if I have to go, yeah.
No biggie.
But that also meant so beautiful, absolute fulfillment of a direct word from, it was incredible. But it also meant that while I was writing Rebuilder, I had a newborn. I wrote this book during the first year of my son's life. He's 2 now. And so I wrote this book with a boppy pillow, which those who, if you know, on my waist at the computer. I literally at times wrote this book simultaneously while nursing an infant. So that said,
Yep.
I don't remember writing this book.
I was going to say, how could you remember anything?
I don't remember the process of writing this book very much. What I remember is getting to the point where I had to finish it and turn it in. And normally I like turning books in like months ahead of my deadlines. And this one I turned in 3 weeks, maybe 1 month before my deadline, which to me almost felt late. It's not. Publishers are totally fine with you turning in a book a month ahead of time. But I was so sure that this book was terrible because I didn't even know. I was a nursing mom throughout all of this and a homeschooling mom. And I have, a day job. I was all the things while I wrote this book. And this is the 3rd book I've done with the same editing team. They know me, we have a really great relationship. So, and you've talked to lots of my team from White Crown. You've talked to Janelle and Hannah and Rosanna. They're amazing. So I sent it in, like, not exactly with an apology, but was just kind of like, let's see what we can do with this together. And so my editor was so gracious and kind. It wasn't in the schedule yet for her to fully edit the book, but she just read it for me. She just read the book and wrote to me, and she's like, Megan, this book is amazing. This book is incredible. This is going to be like, do not worry. We're okay. This is going to be great. And when I turned it in about March, and in about August, when I was doing my first round of edits, I had this wonderful break where I was not touching the story. And by the time I read it in August, I read it like a book I'd never seen before. I had whole sections that I had no memory of writing because Jesus is that good and he brings all things to our remembrance and all of the promises of God are yes and amen. And I read it like a story that someone else wrote. And I was just like, this book is so cool. This book is so fun. Yep. And so that was huge for me. And the other big in this book was, so Hatch, as we talked about, was a side character in these other stories. He wasn't the hero. I did not design, if you will, Hatch to be a romantic lead or to be the hero of his own story. I literally put my own character in the friend zone. And it took a while for me to like see him as worth his own love story, worth his own romance, like worth his own adventure of being the leading man, which was kind of perfect because he doesn't see himself that way in either. You know, the last guy, Zadian, was a king, you know, literally a king at age 20. He saw himself as in command. He had plenty of, you know, struggles internally, but, you know, he had some confidence. This guy doesn't. And so I kind of went on the journey with Hatch to help him get where he needed to go. And I'll tell you what, the problem solved when Rosanna sent me this cover. I was like, oh, dude, yep, you're a hero. Look at that.
It's like, score!
Yep. But so it was a little bit hard, even in my own brain, to pull him out of the friend zone and believe that he could command the room and be worth being the centerpiece of his own story and, you know, win the day, maybe get the girl. Not even a spoiler. He gets the girl. We're not even going to pretend that's a spoiler.
Well, it's a romance.
It's romance.
That is no spoiler. In a romance, we know it is going to happen. It's just how.
Yeah. And will, in my genre, you know, will they be alive and whole, like literally
Yes.
whole by the end of the book? You know, will they have, you know, survived the end of the day is more of the question, you know, for my situation. So yeah, that was a little tough to take the buddy, the ever faithful friend, and let him grow into a man in his own right. And you know, that was a bit of a challenge for this one.
I love it so much. I love it so much. So, book 3. Is there a book 4?
There is. I'm going to say there is not. There's not a book 4. There's not. I mean, are there ideas? Are there characters who are like tapping on my brain who are like, hello, I've been here this whole time. And, you know, I haven't gone on a single date in 3 books, Megan. You know, I mean, are there characters who are bugging me? Yes. But there's not a contract for a 4th book at the moment, though my editor is also like, tap, tap. There's not that. So at the moment, I'm really happy with the Susa Chronicles where it is. Are there people who could have fun adventures and stories? And are there, you know, obviously there's chunks of the Old Testament, like we talked about, that I think would just so fit in the world that I've built. So I don't know, maybe in someday there's like a related series. That's more of what I could imagine, is like, you know, a next generation down the line kind of thing. But at the moment, I'm going to say this is the Susa Chronicles.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so
that doesn't mean there aren't other books in my future. They just
right.
Susa Chronicles.
Do we know when other books? Are we working on other books? What with the other books?
Here's what I can say. Here's what I am literally allowed to say at this point.
This is important. Notice the word allowed. That means discussions have happened, guys. I can say that even if she can't. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What can I say? Okay. There is a non-Susa Chronicles thing that will be presented to the world later this year.
Okay. And you're going to come back and tell us all about that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Score. I mean, this is just kind of important stuff here. Important stuff. Now, now I heard something about ACFW.
Yes. Are we talking about Carol Award stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Protector, the way awards in the publishing world work, kind of like, you know, just like movies, in the ones that we're talking about one year is everything that came out the year before. And it's this kind of fun, interesting, slightly stressful cycle. So Protector came out in 2024, and then Proclaimer came out in 2025. But at the same time that Proclaimer was coming out, was kind of awards season was starting to warm up for Protector. Meanwhile, I'm writing Rebuilder. So all 3 of these things are happening at once. So to my great...
With a new baby.
With a new baby, yes. With a new baby. And the rest of my life that hasn't exactly like stopped happening.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Although baby will do his best to make sure.
That's true. So last year, a couple of fun things started happening. Protector. So I had submitted Protector. into a couple of awards, and I was so, it's not exactly nervous, but I was so like, about it that I actually asked some family that, like, for my Christmas present, will you fund the entry into this award? Because then I won't talk myself out of doing it. So they did, and it was great. And so some amazing things happened. Protector was a double finalist in the Realm Awards, which are specifically for science fiction and fantasy by Christian authors. And then the Carol Award was incredible. So that's the ACFW, the American Christian Fiction Writers, has their own set of awards called the Carol Awards. And that one's really intense because there's no like semifinals in that. There's only 3 finalists. And when I found out that Protector was a Carol Award finalist, I was actually like at a speaking event and my phone blew up with these texts that all had the word Carol in it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think this just happened. And then in September of last year, Protector won a Carol Award for debut novel, which was just the most over the top delightful thing. It was in early September, and I wasn't able to be at the conference live at the awards gala, but I was at home and I was watching, and there was just all this hilariousness with that. I had to like mute. I realized that my feed of the awards night was lagging by several minutes based on the text conversations I was having with other friends. And I had to like mute and hide everyone, or they were going to spoil my own announcement, either by texting like, oh man, we still love you, or you did it. You know what I mean? So that was just an incredible moment. And then 2 weeks later, I had a huge surprise. So I had entered the Realm Awards and the Carol Awards. The Christie Awards, which are like the end all of Christian fiction, right? The Oscars of Christian fiction.
Yep.
They are a little different. Authors can enter them, but often publishers will enter your books. And they have a whole like announcement, little live stream where they announce all the finalists. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch, because I have a ton of friends in publishing at this point, and for sure some of my friends are going to be in this. But I did not even know if Protector had been submitted by my publisher to the Christie Awards. I didn't even know if it was an option. And I was watching the live stream while like kind of in the background on mute while I was doing homeschool with my daughter. And they got to the category of debut novel, which was the category that I won for the Carol Award, which was so fun. And so I kind of paused school and turned on the volume, and they read the 3 names, and it wasn't Protector. And I was like, okay, that's great. You know, maybe they submitted it and it didn't make the top 3. No shame there. Or maybe they didn't submit it. I'll never know. And I guess I could have just asked, but I didn't know at the time. And I was like, and that's okay. And I just kept the live stream running on mute, again, listening for friends in the different categories. The very last category they announced was speculative fiction, which is the umbrella that covers all things outside of normal reality, right? Science fiction, fantasy, all this stuff. And this was one they're like, oh, okay, we actually have 4 finalists. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Last category, the last book they said was Protector. And I have no idea what happened in the following 30 minutes. I was texting my best friend things like, oh, hey, Lindsay Llewellyn, another good friend of mine. Hey, Lindsay's, was not, a finalist. She ended up winning. Oh, hey, JJ Fisher is a finalist. That's cool. Oh, hey, Clint Hall. All these guys were friends of mine. And then my texts turned into like nonsensical letters because I physically was shaking so hard I couldn't type. It was just, and it was the day before my birthday. Like it was just it was so fun. It was so fun. Just the absolute height of you've got to be kidding me. So yeah, the double finalists for Realm Awards for Best Debut and for Reader's Choice, which was the God story that was just insane. I felt like Cinderella at the ball in the sense of like, surely people are going to realize I don't belong here at some point. But no, it was amazing. And then the Carol Awards that I won. And so then fast forward to the night of the Christies. So the Christies, some years they meet in person and some years they're virtual only. And last year was a virtual year, which was great because I wouldn't have been able to go in person anyway. So the finalist announcement was in September and the actual awards night is in November. It was Friday, November 7th. The date is important. So leading up, I'm like, okay, this will be great. It'll be fun. We'll watch along on, the laptop. It'll be great. Well, then one of my very dear friends, her birthday is also November 7th. And it was her 40th birthday and she was going to have a big event. And I'm like, oh man, this is the same night as the Christies. And I'm like, I can't miss the Christies. Like, this is, for all I know, this might be the only time in my career where I'm a part of this. Like, this is not like a guaranteed thing by any means. You don't skip the Christies. And there's actually a part of the Christies where if you're a finalist, you get to wave and smile. Like, you're not just watching it, you do participate a bit, even if you don't win. And I was like, but I really want to be at this person's party and all of this. And I finally just went and talked to her because this is someone who's, an ardent supporter of my books and everything. And I was like, okay, you have to tell me straight. How weird would it be if I go to your party and bring a laptop and I go sit in a guest bedroom and I pop in and out and like half do that? And she was so down for it. She was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Because no matter what, she's like, I want to be the first to know. I want to be there. Absolutely. Like, here, how can we set you up? What do you need? Let's do this. She was so for it. And I was like, great. And that would have been funny enough. That would have been ridiculous enough. But I took it a level farther. Because why not? So not only did I decide that I was going to be bouncing back and forth between my laptop in the guest room, to be on screen at the Christie's, to then come back out to the party, to then, back and forth. I decided that, the outfit that looked best on screen when my tiny face showed at the Christie's was not the outfit I wanted to wear for the rest of the birthday party. So I added wardrobe changes to this whole craziness. I show up at this house with like costume in tow, and I had separate jewelry. It was a whole thing. So I'm like, I go into this bedroom. I also had to show up early because the Christie thing started earlier than the party, and it was a whole deal. And I'm getting on her Wi-Fi and all of it. And so I go in and I have this beautiful teal top and this gold necklace, and I'm on screen and I do all that. And then I cover, I turn off my camera, obviously, and I change into party outfit. And I bring my laptop with me and I go out to the party and I just set it on the side. So, again, I can see which of my friends are winning and let's keep track of this schedule and all of that. And I'm having a great time at this birthday party. And then time comes for my category. And so I go back and I change back into my awards outfit just in case I win. And I'm in there for that. And I did not win, but the person who did is one of my very, very dear friends. JJ Fisher won. And it was so great. We actually, the two books that we had technically competing against each other, we had endorsed for each other.
I love it.
We were, I could not have been happier. My actually first choice, I would have been tying with JJ would have been my number one first result that I wanted. And so JJ winning was just the coolest thing ever. So I did that. And then I changed back into my party outfit. However, at this point it had gotten really cold outside. So I actually ended up in the dress for the party and the pants for the awards in this really awkward, it all just kind of mashed up. I had just put on all the clothes. Just all the clothes happened by the end of the night. And yeah. So that's me. That's my Christie Awards night. That's how glamorous it really is being at the Christie Awards. You're running back and forth, changing outfits with a laptop, hanging out with friends. It was a night to remember.
I love it so much. It's kind of like, it's a similar story when a CFW, somebody, I didn't even know this category existed. Somebody put me up for Mentor of the Year once.
Yeah.
2020. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it existed. I thought it was spam email that came through, one of those, I'm dying and I've got all this money I want to give you. That's what it kind of felt like. So I literally deleted it and moved along. And then my friend Kathy shows me the announcement from ACFW. She's like, look. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's a scam. She's like, no, it's a thing. So I go to the website. I look at the website. Yeah, it's actually a real thing. So, right. So on the night of that they're doing this, that I didn't know was the night that they were doing this. So I wasn't smart enough to change, outfits. But anyway, I'm at my friend's house. She's having a big celebration for 5 years with her business. Mm. And so we're all standing around and everybody, guys, remember, I don't do phones. They're off they're on do not disturb all the time. For me, they are a camera and emergency calling device. That's it. That's all I do with them. And so mine is in my purse. maybe it might still be in the car if I remember to bring it from home. I mean, that's the literal way that I am. So everybody is like, ah, they're all screaming and being all excited. And I'm like, what happened? And I didn't even know it was the award night.
Oh my goodness.
It was so funny. I'm like, oh, it really was real.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Speaking of award stories that sound like they're fiction, at the Realm Awards, that one, so like I said, Realm Makers is a wonderful organization. It's similar to the ACFW, but it's specifically in the realm of science fiction and fantasy and such things, created by Christians. And that one, I happened to actually be at the conference for the awards night. And I came in second place on one of the awards for that. And I did it sitting at a table, kid you not, next to Larry the Cucumber. I do not mean next to someone dressed as Larry the Cucumber, even though it was a fantasy costume, Comic-Con, like cosplay kind of event. I mean Mike Naraki, the Larry the Cucumber, creator of the VeggieTales, and I are sitting next to each other at a table. He's telling us like behind the scenes stories of VeggieTales, and he and Phil Vischer on camping trips, and I'm meeting his wife, all of this at this event during this awards gala. And at the time, wearing these awesome sequin pants that did not agree with the cushion on the chair.
Oh
So
no.
I couldn't actually sit all the way on the chair. I had to sit like a Regency lady, on the front two edges of the chair while I'm listening to Larry the Cucumber tell stories, waiting to find out what's going to happen with these two awards. It was completely delightful. It was absolutely wonderful.
Note to self: do not buy sequin pants. You do not want to see Shatona in sequin pants. I'm just saying this is not a good idea anyway. But if I ever had any, temptation, you have ruined it. Thank you very much.
Oh,
I
no.
really appreciate it.
No, that was my
Because
level.
I do not. Yeah, not going to do it. Okay, so now I need permission to use your costume change. I wouldn't use it in the same way, but seriously, I've got to have someone going to a party doing something like for work or something and having to change in and out of stuff. I just
by
have
all
to
means.
do that.
By all means, take all
'Cause
my
that is
ridiculous
genius.
stories. Yep.
Oh, I got to write that down. Oh my goodness, this is great. This is so fun. Boy. Okay. Did you see why you need to read her books? Can I just say she can tell a story. I mean, if
Aw.
telling the truth is this much fun, can you imagine what she can do when she doesn't have to tell what only happened? She can tell whatever she wanted to have happened. I mean, I'm just saying.
When
Tell
I get
the
a
truth, write
backspace
the story.
button.
Oh,
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
it so much. Goodness. Okay. I'm not excited or anything. That doesn't show. But we it's a thing. So okay, faith wise, I gotta ask real quick. I know I've kept you
Mhm.
forever, but faith
No,
wise,
you're
what are
good.
we gonna see in Rebuilder?
Oh, yeah. No, this is a wonderful question. Okay. Oh, there's so many ways I could answer this question. So Hatch in Protector and Proclaimer, when I, tried to look at him as his own hero and decide, okay, what makes this guy tick? What has already been established about him on the page? What do we know about him so far? And I was looking at him and the situations he had been in, and I saw a guy who his instincts, his actions were so bold and faithful, but there was a lot of insecurity there. He would not, I saw a guy who would not describe himself as bold and who, honestly missed some opportunities. I'm just going to put it out there. He missed some opportunities to do some things and to step up in some places. And so when I wrote this story for Rebuilder, I wanted to write about a guy not who went on a journey and found his boldness. I wanted to write a guy who went on a journey and realized how bold he had been all along, and who changed his perspective on his life and began to see all the times where he had naturally stepped forth in boldness, specifically in his faith, and to then realize who he always had been, who God always had made him to be. This isn't about a guy who needs to become someone else. He doesn't need to transform. He needs to stop believing that he needs to transform, if that makes sense. And seeing him come through that journey of finally getting to the point where he realized, I am that guy. I am the guy who can step up. I am the guy who can take the risk, who can say the thing. I am the guy who can lead the charge. To me was just utterly beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a moment in the book that is inspired by scripture, but not Nehemiah. In the Bible, there is a king named Hezekiah, and his story is in the Bible in 3 places in its total. The whole story is in the Bible in 3 places. It's in 2 Kings, it's in Chronicles, and it's in the book of Isaiah. So know this is something important. It's in there 3 times. And there's a point where King Hezekiah, his attack is at his door. He's going to be under attack any day now. And his enemy is literally shouting from the walls to his people, give up now. We're going to destroy you. You're going to be our slaves. They're throwing out letters, like actual pieces of propaganda, into the city to tell the people, we're going to destroy you. That's this just total psychological warfare that it truly happened in the Bible. And Hezekiah, this is the real story of this king, takes one of those letters and he goes to the temple and he lays it down before the altar of God and basically says, I'm paraphrasing here, God, this is your problem, not mine. And he literally takes what his enemy has been throwing at him and he hands it to God in a physical manifestation. He lays that letter down and hands it to God and says, I know that you are going to fix this. And I've always just been wildly inspired by this. I've mentally, for myself, done this multiple times in my head, where I will mentally take that email that I just got that I can't believe someone actually sent me, and is driving me crazy. And I will mentally take that email and put it in front of God's altar and say, this is, you are going to deal with this. This is not my burden to carry. You did not ask me to carry this. You asked me to trust you. And so there's a scene in Rebuilder where Patches is finally learning some things, and he takes several items. He takes letters, he takes things from his enemies, he takes symbols of his past, and he literally lays them all down and says, these aren't mine to carry anymore. And he leaves them behind. And for me, like I said, I've chosen to do that moment. I've made that choice so many times. God, this thing is not mine. You are not asking me to shoulder this. You are asking me to let you carry this because your burden is light. Your yoke is easy. I'm the one who's making it heavy. I'm the one who's taking on what I was not built to carry. And so that moment for me is just exactly what I want myself to walk in, what I want my kids to walk in, what I want my readers to walk in, is to be able to, when the island is literally sinking beneath your feet, when everything is falling apart, when you've messed up, because he has at this point, when you have said all the wrong things, to take that, whatever the symbol of that is, and lay it down on the ground and say, you are still God. You are my source of everything that I need. And I refuse to pick this back up again. I refuse to pick up anything that you died to carry, in essence. So that's just one of the spiritual things happening in the book. There's a lot of other layers. Myah's whole story I didn't even touch, but to me, that is some of the heart behind the story.
So excited. Hi, how you doing? It's going to be all fine. It's going to be all fine. It'll be here someday. Just a week. I only have to wait a week, guys. You would think that I was having to wait like the rest of my life. Can I just say? Anyway, I'm fine. Everything is fine. It's just great. I mean, I'm sitting here staring at it and I want the paperback, so I can't order yet. And I'm just like but I will be refreshing the page every day in case sometimes he gets up earlier than the release, sometimes that happens. So then I can order it and then it might actually be on my doorstep. I should go see, wait a minute, if I can order it from Whitefire though.
Yes, you can order it from Whitefire right now. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll be everywhere. Right now, It's on signed copies are available on my website. I always sell signed copies directly so that you can have that extra bit of fun. And I tuck in some extra little fun things like a map of the islands and stuff like that. And then Whitefire or White Crown, either way, they're the same publisher. You can go through their website and they sell physical copies and ebooks and all the fun stuff too.
Okay. Yes, I need to do that. And guys, if you go to her website, you can get a short story over there. 99 cents. I'm just saying.
I have a couple little bonus stories that go with the Susa Chronicles, a couple little prequels that I sell for, just $1 there on my website. Those are not available anywhere else. And then if you sign up for my newsletter, I have a really fun kind of futuristic reimagining of Ezekiel and the dry bones. That's just my gift to anyone who subscribes.
Yes. So there you go. That was my next question. Where should they go? They should go to your website because reasons. And it's in the show notes, guys, because I am on the ball. Sort of. But let me dream. I've got a dream. Anyway, Shatona has absolutely lost it. Can you tell I haven't eaten today? I think it's starting to show. Anyway. So cool, so cool. Well, Megan, this has been fun. I've been looking forward to this for the last couple of weeks, and now it's here, and now I'm sad because I have to say goodbye. But thank you so much for coming and chatting with us, and for agreeing to come and chat again. And I'm going to hound you for that, and for writing this series because yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. You were so much fun to chat with, Shona, and I so loved getting to share all of my ridiculous behind the scenes stories and the awkward hilarity that is an author's life. Or maybe it's just mine. Maybe all the other authors are very sophisticated in the way they put books together.
Well, we can be misfits together, though, because I'm the one that made a total fool of herself, while she was writing her last one, bless me. And so, it's just like, it's what it is, guys. It's a thing. Well, I'm going to say thanks again. And meanwhile, guys, have a good day. Go read these good books. They are waiting. I have to wait. You don't, because I'm like trying to get this ahead of time, but sometimes we got all the authors and sometimes an author has to wait. Sorry about that. And, all the fun. And yeah, I will chat with you guys next time.